Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am AmalgamAsh, and this is Cemetery Mary, and what I'm doing is I've finished the Croven good and bad ending routes of Cemetery Mary, 2 out of the possible 6 endings, with the 7th true ending being told in after one of the 3 good endings if I can achieve it. But what I'm doing is I'm going to attempt to get Twyla's good and bad endings, and I'm doing that by attempting to play Twyla's route. I have forced myself into a bit of scenery involving Reginald. We're actually seeing a scene that I didn't plan on seeing until my next playthrough, so we're just jumping back into it. Reginald opens the door. We just arrived at his workshop, and he is looking quite worse for wear, and I'm very interested in knowing why. At first, he had a not so happy expression on his face. It was only for a split second, but I noticed before it changed. Ah, Mary, you're here. Come in, come in. So glad you could make it. I took a step into the workshop. It was so cozy in here. It looks cozy. I had no idea Reginald was a coffin maker in my last playthrough. There was such gentle sunlight flowing in through the windows, and the smell of sawdust was prominent in the air. I love that. I would love to have a wood shop just like that ambiance. But it was a good kind of sawdust smell. And by the way, I'm skipping through all of the text that I read during my Croven playthroughs. REN'PY is the engine that this game was made in, and it has an awesome feature. Whenever you skip text, it will skip every line that you have read, whether or not you've read it in the current playthrough or current a different branch save file or anything. It will absolutely skip through stuff it knows you've seen, and that's awesome. So I won't be rereading anything. I'm going to skip through everything that was read during the Croven playthroughs, and we will only see the unique scenes that I haven't seen yet. And by the time I go through Twyla's routes, or Reginald's routes next, rather, we should have seen everything in the game, and we'll be achieving the true ending during the Reginald's route playthrough. Alright, enough of that. Back to the game. Smelled like productivity and hard work. I love it. I actually just started my break, but you're free to look around and ask about things in the meantime. Are you sure? I don't want to bother you on your break. Oh, nonsense. I can't think of a better way to spend my free time. So, anything you're curious about? These are your work clothes? Oh, yes. Do you like them? Oh, yes. They look very nice, they do, but, your hair is still a bit loose, don't you think? Yes, you're not the first to say that, but it's hard to control it all, and I can't bear to cut it. No worries, though. I assure you, I haven't had an accident since. And if I do, then you can just tell me, you told me so. Are those new tools working for you? Extravagantly so. I think that's because I had you helping me that day. Are you secretly a good luck charm? I think I feel more like the opposite, if I'm honest. Oh, come now, don't say that. You haven't let me down yet. Are you always alone here? Oh, not always. Okay, just about always. But it's alright. I don't mind it. I get to meet up with some others when they need bases and all. So I'm not always alone. So don't worry about it. Besides, are any of us really alone? He winked at me after saying it. This is a lot more woodsy than I expected. Oh, you think so? Haha, yes. I do prefer to keep things a little more natural out here. It takes a bit longer, but it's more than worth it in the end. Better for the environment as well. Sure, Mr. Rat Poison. And is that your work in the back? Indeed it is. It's just the base right now, though. Nothing too special about it yet. I think it looks pretty good, though. Especially since it's not like I know how to do any of this stuff. Well, if you'd like, you could take a step inside. You could be my little tester. Whoa. Really? She likes that idea. Sure. I mean, haven't you always wanted to know what it was like to actually lie in one? I know I have. Yeah. I'd like to try it if it's okay. Of course it is. I wouldn't have offered otherwise. I stepped into the coffin. Even though it was still standing upwards, I crossed my arms as if I had been lying down in it. Reginald gave me a teensy wave as he lifted the lid and placed it over the coffin, encompassing me in darkness inside. How's it feel in there? It's cozy, I think. I'm sure it'll be a lot cozier once it's finished. Maybe we'll add some nice cushions and a shiny finish to really put it over the top. Yeah, I always did wonder what it feels like in those. I guess you'll have to let me try it again when it's finished. Yes. Are you realizing that was a bit ominous? Hello? Reginald? You're still there, right? Hello? Guess I'll just let myself out then? Haha. Huh? I had pushed the lid in front of me, but it didn't budge at all. I pushed harder, but to no avail. Reginald? What is going on right now? Can you hear me? I'd like to get out now. Haha. Hey! How much air is in here anyways? I tried pushing again. No use. And no matter how much I yelled out to him, it seemed as if Reginald had just vanished. Hey! Let me out, please. I punched the lid in an attempt to get out. I felt pain surge through my wrist as I did so, but still, I did it again. And again. And again. Help me! Please! Let me out! Let me out! Please! I can't get out! Please! Finally, I was let out. I struggled to catch my breath as I was met with the face of Reginald, who looked quite shocked to see me in such a state. Mary? What happened? Are you all right? Where were you? Didn't you hear me screaming in there? No, someone had knocked on the door. I figured you'd be able to get out on your own, so You look shaken. Just a little bit. I just got so nervous when I couldn't get out. I'm sorry. No, I'm the sorry one. Really, I'm so sorry. Today was supposed to be nice, but I shouldn't have left you alone. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you, okay? You really don't have to, it's alright. I'd feel bad. It wasn't your fault. It is my fault. Besides, I won't feel good about it unless I do something to make it up to you, okay? It's just how I am. I stayed for about less than an hour after that. It became pretty awkward after my little panic. And Reginald still looked like he felt really bad. I told him I'd let him work in peace. He told me it was okay if I wanted to leave, but he'd like to see me again soon. We said our goodbyes and I left, not wanting him to feel any worse over it. I didn't do much the rest of the day. I had, well, planned around this, but now I didn't feel up for doing much at all. I went back home and decided to just relax. I was sure that once I was fully calm, what happened today wouldn't have seemed that bad at all, so I spent the rest of my evening at home, until it was time for bed once again. Are you trapped? What do you mean by that? What you're doing right now, is it because you want to, or do you not have a choice? There's always a choice, even if that choice is to do nothing. But the choice I've made was with the best intentions in mind. Good night, Mary. There's even new mystery number dialogue. I really like that. I don't know if being easier to sleep at night was becoming a good thing or a bad thing. Regardless, I slept. The days following were mostly uneventful, but I think that's probably a good thing. I didn't need something to shake things up even more. The first 2 days that passed, I did my usual hobbies. I went to the cemetery. I placed flowers. I planted flowers. I didn't really talk to anyone, but that was fine too. On the third day, it was raining, so I decided I would stay home. I decided to finally take out the manga I got from the library. I hadn't started it yet, and today seemed like the perfect day to. I lit the fireplace as I cuddled up with a blanket next to it, expecting to spend quite a while sitting there. It was a thick book, but I was sure I could finish it all in a sitting. As for its content, well, it wasn't the best manga I had ever read, but it was still really interesting, and captivated me nonetheless. The story was mostly lighthearted, and at some points even felt like a comedy. But I had just gotten to a part that was a bit more serious, making me all the more invested. The main boy was hopelessly in love with the main girl, as these things tend to go. That was obvious enough from the start. Despite this, he didn't want to be her boyfriend. In fact, he didn't want to be in a relationship with her at all. The manga had been pretty comedic up to this point. It was mostly about the boy taking wild steps to keep the girl his friend, while also not wanting it to evolve into more, or even insinuate he had feelings for her. He never explains why he doesn't want to date her, just that he doesn't. But now it appears the girl had grown feelings for him in return, making things all the more complicated. And it looks like the boy was ready to confess why he felt the way he did. I was completely immersed as I turned the page, only to be met with, "Oh, how terrible." Someone had vandalized the pages with some sort of black paint or nail polish, it seemed. I turned to the next page just to make sure the rest of the book was all right. Sure enough, the other pages were also scribbled in black, except for one. What? There was a drawing on it, and what looked like some kind of writing underneath. It made me feel disappointed. I know it's not all that uncommon for edgy teenagers to write in books and all, but still, this belonged to the library. You shouldn't damage it. I tried to look on the bright side and think that maybe it was a donation to the library instead, that someone had drawn in this book when they owned it and donated it without realizing. Still though, did no one check to see if the book was in good enough shape to be donated? Well, there was nothing I could do about it now. I made a mental note to tell the library of the damaged book when I went next, and flipped back through the beginning pages to make sure I didn't miss any other marks, but when I did... Huh? Oh, Jesus. The page I was just on looked nothing like it did before. All the characters, it was like they were looking straight at me. I turned the page and it was the same. All eyes were on me. Completely startled, I had thrown the book away from me, but I didn't see where I was throwing. In my panic, I had thrown the book right into the fire. Oh no. Oh no. I wanted to save it, but it was too late. Putting the fire out wouldn't have saved it. It was already pitch black and burning into ash. I smacked myself in the head. I was always so careful with the library books, and now I just let one get completely destroyed. Stupid. Ugh. Even though the book was beyond rescue, I still had to clean the fireplace now. I sighed and gathered the proper tools to clean it. Kneeling in front of the fireplace, I heard my phone go off. I picked it up shortly after, worried that it might have been Croven, needing something important. But it was Reginald, once again. Hello, Mary. How are you feeling today? Me? I'm okay, I guess. Are you sure? I still feel terrible about what happened the other day. What do you mean? When you got stuck, remember? Or, well, perhaps it's better if you don't remember. Well, anyways, I've still been feeling pretty awful about that. I was thinking of ways I could make it up to you somehow. And luckily, an opportunity has recently presented itself. Oh, you don't have to do anything. Really, it's alright. Please, I think you'll really like it. I need to tell him it really isn't necessary. No, I insist. You see, I was recently invited to a funeral. And who better to invite with me than you? Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you feeling alright? Oh, yes, no need to worry. It was no one close, just someone I used to know, a long time ago. I hadn't seen him in ages, so it surprised me. Even me that I was invited. But since I was, I thought you would like to come. You do like these events, right? Well, I guess I can't deny that I do, haha. But are you really sure it's okay for me to come? Of course. I think if anyone can put the fun in funeral, it's you. Aw, shucks. Now that was very cheesy. Reginald forwarded me the details of the funeral and told me where I'd be meeting him. Despite our area's pretty cemetery, this funeral was going to be entirely in a church. I had never been to a funeral in a church before. Each one I've attended has been outside, and it's a lot easier to walk into one that's held outdoors. But now I was invited, and I could not deny. I did feel a little excited. Is that bad? I've never really gone to churches, but they've always seemed so pretty from the outside. I just never had a reason to go. But now I do. I kept in touch with Reginald until that day, always double-checking the details such as the time and location. I didn't want to be late, or hold anything up, or cause any disruption. Reginald kept assuring me that it would be all right, though, and that he'd wait for me outside so I wouldn't get too lost either. On the day of the funeral, I wore my usual attire. Here we'll save. We'll go ahead and save over the hardware store. It's one of the great things about dressing like this. I'm always funeral ready. Haha. I mean, that's not the only reason I dress like this. I just like the color black a lot. Me too, Mary. But I think red is still my favorite color. Me too, Mary. Probably. When I turned down the street, the church was on. I spotted Reginald standing on the front steps. He spotted me in return and gave a polite wave as he waited for me to reach him. Why don't you look nice? Oh, really? I'm just wearing what I always do. Yes, I know. But it's a nice look for you. Right. Here, take this. Reginald handed me a small package of tissues. I know you're not one to cry at these events, but just in case. Oh, thank you. That's very considerate of you. Do you think you'll need them too? Oh, no. I'm not much of a crier, I'm afraid. Besides, I think it's hard to be sad with you around. Reginald opened the door for me and I stepped inside. I had always admired this building from the outside, but had never been inside before. The ceilings towered above us. The walls were clean and dark, and the tiled floors below gave us a pleasant sound when stepped on. He gestured to the direction we'd be heading in for the service. There was a lot of people. That made me happy. We all herded into the room, everyone looking for a proper pew to sit in with a nice enough view of the priest. I sat down in closest open spot to me, and almost immediately I felt an overwhelming sense of dread. I'm not sure what caused it, or why it was happening, but it was as if the world was ending. Somehow. I don't know. I just couldn't place this overwhelming sense of doom that I was feeling. I looked around. It seemed like no one else was experiencing it, but it was so prominent to me, almost tangible, like a heavy weight that was sinking into your shoulders, or loud music that reverberated through your bones. It's little scenes like this. They don't have to be here, but they are so, poignant and intentional and deliberate that make me really love going through this. The ceilings were so high, and I had plenty of room to sit, and yet I felt so terribly claustrophobic. I could not even hear what the priest was saying, or rather, I could hear it, but I felt as if I could not listen properly, as if they were speaking underwater. What was this feeling? It was making me feel sick. I felt the temples of my head start to throb the more time went on, and each muffled noise that coursed its way across the room somehow gave me a sense of nausea, as if just the vibrations of sound were causing me to feel dizzy. Something wasn't right. That's all I could think to myself. I felt almost paralyzed in my seat as the bad feelings continued, so on and so forth. It was hard to describe exactly how it felt. Was this a stroke? A heart attack? I couldn't pinpoint this feeling. I just knew that something wasn't right. I wasn't even sure how to handle these feelings. It was as if I had entered some kind of dreamlike state. What was on that package of tissues? As if what I was feeling and everything around me was all some sort of elaborate dream. It was scary and claustrophobic. I felt like I had tunnel vision and the world around me was becoming blurred. All the noises around me felt so muffled, and yet also so loud. It made my ears ring. And all the while, the only message my brain was feeding me was that something wasn't right. I didn't want to be disrespectful to the service or anything, but I had to leave. At least just leave the room. How long had this gone on anyways? It felt like it had been hours, but that couldn't have been the case. I think I was just feeling really sick, and that's why I eventually worked up the strength to exit the room. Things didn't seem quite so closed in when I did, but I still felt tidal waves of nausea rush over me every few moments. I couldn't understand what was causing this to happen. I felt terrified. In my dizzied state, I stumbled about until I found a bathroom. I went inside. The lights were bright and fluorescent in contrast to the rest of the church. The buzzing noise and stark whiteness of the room did not help my condition at all, as if overloading my senses even more. Luckily, I was already in front of a toilet when my sickness got the better of me. I threw up. And something definitely was not right. Oh. This is so strange. So, going through Croven's playthrough, I think it's about at this time we look at, or we do acquire the book on how to speak to the dead. But we get that book because Croven wins it in an arcade machine. I don't understand what's happening here, and I don't think that we're going to get that book, so I don't know that Cemetery Mary here is going to be able to speak to the dead in this route. But we seem to be getting a completely different ability, ? Whatever I had puked into the toilet was unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was pure black, and it glistened oddly in the light, like ink or tar. Did this really come out of me just now? Or am I just seeing things? This feeling of nausea still hasn't left. A knock on the door. I wasn't given much time to inspect it further, but truthfully, I didn't know if I wanted to. I had to just be seeing things, right? I told whoever was outside that I would just be a minute. I flushed the toilet and wiped the seat with toilet paper. All that murky, inky black water came up clear again after I had flushed it. I washed my hands and cleaned myself up at the sink before heading back out there again. As I exited the bathroom, I was greeted by a lady and gentleman standing right in front of me. Oh, goodness, you startled me. I'm so sorry, and I apologize for the wait. Please go ahead. Oh, that's quite alright. I just wanted to fix my makeup before we head out for dinner. Will you be joining us too? Huh? We saw you in the service there with us. Everyone was invited to come join us for dinner after. Sorry if we're appearing rude, but who are you anyways? You're not some kind of crasher, right? Huh? What do you mean? How are you related to the deceased? Who did you come here with? So, haha, that's just because I'm actually I'm a third cousin twice removed. I'm Reginald's girlfriend. Okay. I didn't want to cause any trouble leaving the service in the middle of it. I just wasn't feeling all that great, so I took off on my own. I don't know where he is right now, but I'll see him again soon, I'm sure. Oh, I see. You must be very wound up about all this then. Sorry to bother you. Oh no, don't be sorry. It's okay. I noticed them give me a weird look as we went our separate ways. As I got closer to the main hall, I could see more and more people spilling out the ends. It seemed like the service was just about over, but I couldn't just leave. There was something really weird going on here. And I knew it was connected to that coffin. The closer I got to it, the more intense that nauseating pressure felt. It felt like walls closing in on my brain. And with what happened in the bathroom earlier, I couldn't just let it go. I snuck closer to the coffin. We were alone together, and the pressure felt more intense than ever. Honestly, I felt like I could puke again from just standing here. It just felt so hard to focus on anything except the pressure of it all. Something was telling me, what's inside? I don't know if it's a body. I could hardly think properly, but all my brain could tell me was that something else was in there. No one else is around, right? Maybe if I could just see inside, all I need is one quick glance, and then maybe my mind will be at ease. I reached my arm towards the coffin, and